So I go to lunch, today's Thursday, and this engine showed up yesterday. Then goes to the truck out back. But this engine showed up when I was at lunch. This is from our junkyard. Got interrupted. So as I was saying, this is the junkyard engine they sent. Pretty complete. Doesn't have valve covers, balancer, or a water pump, which I went in and put this one back together, and I kind of jumped the gun. And so I got to take these valve covers back off and the balancer, which kind of stinks. But it doesn't have the sensors. No big deal on that. So we'll get this thing out from outside. It looks like it might rain. And I got to rearrange a few things. So it's going to need some harness connectors. And we're going to need top and bottom radiator hoses because those are worn out. That's about all we're going to need to make this thing run now. So we're in good shape. It could use other stuff, but that's what it's going to get. So I'm going to grab the forklift to move this engine over to here. I'll put it right over there out of the way. And I'm going to put the engine in the crate outside. I'm going to put it right beside the truck because I have a chain fall. So I have that chain fall there. And I'm going to put it right into that, excuse me, right into that beam, which will be right in line with the bumper here, the fender. So we'll sit that engine right here. That engine's on the crane. I can just move it over. And I guess what I'm getting at is I need this bay because we just had a 17 Fusion roll up with a dead battery. And it just acts really stupid when the battery gets low. So I want to charge that battery for a little while. So I've got it on the battery charger, and then put it in this bay after I do some rearranging. So let's get to it. This is when I really need a GoPro with a wide angle lens. Now I've got this bay hoed out. Got these two engines over here next to the vehicle. I've got this bay hoed out so I can get a little fusion in out of the elements. It has a charging issue. Doesn't seem to, it's not charging, it's running off only off the battery. So we'll check it out. Just have a look, see what's inside this thing. Yeah, it's just like I figured. This stuff's total crap. So we've got Felpro gasket set, junk, and Dorman VCT solenoids. So this thing's just waiting to come back. And as soon as I get done with it, it's gonna be ready to come back. Look. These are exhaust manifold gaskets. I mean, it's pitiful. Two intake gaskets, two valve cover gaskets, one water pump seal. Crossover intake gaskets, multiple pull relocator gaskets, depending on which one it has, and a drain plug gasket, and thermostat gasket, and our lovely exhaust manifold gaskets. We're not going to run those. We're not going to give the customer the option. That's going in the garbage can. The rest of this crap we'll put on there. So that's what I needed to know. That's what I needed to know because I got to go to the parts counter and get top and bottom radiator hose and something else. I got it wrote down. Oh, the ignition coil connectors. Need 3 of those. They're all busted up. And we'll get exhaust manifold gaskets and hardware, because if you look at this old engine that I'm took out, that hardware is trash. Even for down here in the south, that's just garbage. It's just waiting to, if I were to try to change that over, it would just be, I'd be shooting myself in the foot and I'd be doing this job again for free later down the road. So let me run to the parts counter and we'll take care of that. I'm at the point now where I got to put all the parts and pieces from the old engine to this engine to make it run, and to be honest with you, it's just a waste of time. There's no comparing this engine to a Ford reman engine. This is not a Ford reman, and they just use inferior components. You know, just the gaskets. Just the gaskets alone are just terrible. Now, I don't want somebody to think I'm got a bad attitude or I'm bashing anybody, but there are different levels, you know, of quality. I mean, you can in anything. I mean, especially like food. I mean, you buy cheap food, it tastes like crap. You know, you spend money on good food, it tastes good. Same way with, you know, doing this engine job. Now it's just a straight swap. I'm just taking one engine out and putting another one in. But we want it to last. We want it to stay on the road. We don't want it to come back for any reason. And this engine is a ticking time bomb to come back. This is the same engine I took out with a broken valve. And I've never had a 5.4 2 valve or 3 valve with a broken valve. So there's no telling how long this thing's going to last. And it's just, but there are some things I'm just not going to reuse. And this is one of them. or just I'm not going to use them. So these are the gaskets, the O-rings for the heater supply tube, the return from the heater core back to the engine. And that gasket, I mean, the O-ring is just crap. I mean, you saw how easy I removed that. And this is the factory one that I put on to replace it, to show you. And, I can barely squeeze that. You pretty much got to take a screwdriver or something to get under there to remove that. So it's just one thing after another with this replacement engine. Check this out. I'm so glad they had the presence of mind to wrap this engine in a bag, because this crate that this came in is so full of sawdust that, I mean, it's just like, it's like they built the crate on top of itself and they were just using the crate as they built it for a workhorse. I mean, it's just covered in sawdust. I don't know if you can see that or not, man. It's just sawdust laying on top of this bag, which if it weren't here would be laying in the valve, the valve train, the camshafts, and everything else. It's terrible. I got to unwrap that thing without getting all that stuff all over everything. So, but it's one of those things. Got to live with it, deal with it, and move on, which we're going to do. We're going to move on. I'm going to quit ranting and raving here pretty soon. I was talking about those O-rings earlier, and I got interrupted by somebody, but those have been upgraded. And what else are we going to upgrade? Oh, the exhaust stuff. I'll show you that in a minute. But in the meantime, let's get this thing out of this crate. So someone may be curious, or may not, I don't know, why I rolled the engine from over there. There's plenty of room over there, all the way to where we are now, right here. And there's really no other reason than the fact that there's more daylight over here because I'm at the door. You can see the glow, the heavenly glow off my forehead there. But I'm gonna rant and rave one last time before we get busy here. Putting these little few pieces on here and getting this thing back together. And that is the quality of, we talked about the gaskets. Not happy about those. But that is on the quality of these fasteners. So these are what they sent with the engine. They didn't send any nuts or anything like that, but they sent these already in the head, and it's just like threaded rod or something. I mean, it's just terrible. And these threads are all laid over and broken. Excuse me, are laid over and bent up. The next step is, you've seen this before, so I'm not going to film it, but I'm going to put this together and I'm going to put it back in the vehicle. And then when it comes time to start it, we will fire this thing up. You know what? Actually, I've got, and this is a prime opportunity for me to share with you guys. I have a pressure primer. It's not the best in the world, but a friend of mine made it for me. And you never badmouth something you get from a friend if they go on the extra mile to do it for you. It's kind of like going to someone's house to eat. You don't complain about the food, right? Right. So, as horrible, crappy as an engine as this is, I think, since I still have the valve covers off of it, I will use the pressure primer and go ahead and prime this engine up and show you that neat little doodad and gadget. And we can actually see the oil come up into the camshafts here, or as they say around here, Earl. Watch that there, Earl, come up in there. And that way when I go to start it, so traditionally being flat rate and in a hurry, as soon as you get the motor in, you're ready to start it, you just crank it over and you wait for the oil pressure light to go out or the gauge to come up, and then you start it up. But and Ford wants you to go one step further. They want you to do all that with the drive belt off of it, so you're not putting pressure on the #1 crank bearing. So I think we'll use that pressure primer. I've got time, and that'll make for some good material. So let me get set up for that. So here's the pressure primer. It's a little small. I wish it was a little bigger, but I'm okay with it. It works really well. And I'll show you how it works when I get ready to start priming this thing. Basically, I'm going to use my hose off my oil pressure set, and I'm going to screw it onto here, and then I'll screw into the engine. And then I'm going to put regulated shop air on here, about 40 psi, to simulate oil pressure. And basically you pull this down by hand and put the oil in here, and then when you put air to it, there's a piston in here that'll force the oil out and into the engine. And I got to put the oil filter on the engine to keep to clog the system, block the system off, or we'll just push the oil out on the ground. But I got to prime this, and not because if I were to use this without priming this, it'll fill this on its own, but it takes a lot of effort to pour oil in here because it's such a small. I haven't modified it in any way, so I just need to prime this, because when we put pressurized oil into we're going to go into the oil pressure port, and when we do, under normal flow, the oil goes in these little holes here and comes out here to the engine. We're going to be going the opposite way. We're upstream of the filter, so when we're putting oil into it manually with this apparatus here, oil's going to want to come back into here and push against this silicone check valve. So it'll take this whole canister to fill this up when I can just fill this up first and put it on there. So let me do that first, and then we'll get set up. So it really works out good having these filters with a check valve in them, because if I had a regular filter, it's possible that it could take the path of least resistance, fill the filter up, and then go into the oil pan instead of the end of the engine, because we're going to be fighting gravity here. So that's ready to go on the engine. Now we'll change out this hose here. I'm ready to put this on the engine. Now I'm simply going to screw this into the oil pressure feed port, the oil pressure sending unit port. One thing to note, so like I'm working off of this bench here, we need the engine lower than the bench, because with the engine up high like this, every time I open the canister up, all the oil's going to run back out and make a really big mess. So we'll lower the engine all the way down. And then we can also see, we can monitor. I'm going to leave the VGT, excuse me, I'm thinking diesels. I'm going to leave the VVT solenoids out. That way I can see the oil when it gets up to the top of the engine here. So this is my regulator. So we'll put air to it, run it up to about, run up to about 50. Because once you hook it to that, you drop quite a bit of pressure. This thing's really old. I've had this a long time. So we'll just pull this piston out. Take the fill out. Fill it full of motor oil. It's a bit of a mess. But it's good for the customer, the longevity of the engine that we're putting in. And then we'll put air to it. You won't be able to see anything for a while, because it take a while to fill up all those galleys on the engine. But we'll put air to it, you can watch the piston. So that quickly we just shot what oil's in there into the engine. We'll do it again. And again, and again, and again. Once I get oil to both camshafts, then I'll stop. Shouldn't take no more than 2 quarts. So we have officially got oil at the top of this engine now. If you look, you can see the oil puddling up in the cylinder head here, and I've still got the VVT solenoids out. I'm going to zoom you in on that. I'm going to put another little bit of splash of oil in here, and you can actually watch it gurgle out. And there we go. A little closer look here. You can see the oil puddled up there. So we've got oil up here as if this engine will run and shut off. Our lifters are pumped up. Our roller followers have oil on them. You know, our chain tensioners are pumped up now. And I'm going to put the VVT solenoids in and then do it a couple more times just to be 100% sure. And that was about, let's see, about a quart of oil. It took about, not quite a quart to get to that point. But, you know, in the olden days, with a distributor-driven oil pump, you could turn the oil pump and prime the system very easily. On these, the oil pump is driven off the front of the crankshaft flange, so there's no way to prime the thing without actually spinning the engine. And if you got a really dry engine such as this one's dry, didn't have any oil anywhere. You compromise the integrity a little bit. You take a little life off of the bearings, depending on how much they lubed everything when they put it together. Which with this engine, I doubt there's any lubrication in it. So we extended the life, a little bit of longevity on this engine. I have no idea what I'm trying to say. Basically, when I go to turn the key, I can just start this thing right up. And we'll prove that out. We'll see what happens. We'll see how long it takes for the oil pressure gauge to come up when I go to start it. We'll still disable the engine, but I'm curious because I've had really, really good luck with this tool and using this method. Just when you guys thought I was done bitching, have I expressed my concerns about this engine yet? I think I have. Check this out. So I just got through putting oil in the old girl. I thought I'd put the solenoids in, alright? And I put this solenoid into the valve body. And the valve body is stripped out. She's stripped right out. So I pulled the timing cover and the front balancer and all that good stuff to get that valve body out. It's Friday. It's after 5:30. I'm going home.